We have got a Fox News alert as you look at first responders out in Brooklyn, New York. A Long Island Railroad train has derailed. It looks like it ran into the Atlantic Terminal Station in Brooklyn. At least 18 are hurt, according to local news accounts.
This happened about 8:30 a.m. and it's on the roads right near Atlantic and Flatbush Avenues, and they have been closed because of what's happening there. As you see in these pictures, it's about 15 minutes old.
This is reminiscent of what happened back in September as we look at the live images of the first responders going into the Atlantic Terminal. Remember, we showed you in September what happened over in Hoboken, where one of the New Jersey trains ran into the platform. It looks as if that's exactly what happened at the Atlantic Terminal in Brooklyn.
Amazing to see those first responders out there saving lives, making sure people are safe and that they're getting to the hospitals.
All right. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
Guys, thank you. More on that breaking news in a moment. Fox News alert now, and so it begins today, the beginning of the end for Obamacare as we have come to know it. On the Hill at this hour are the big hitters. Vice President-elect Mike Pence and President Obama each set to huddle with their respective parties. Pence trying to start anew with the health care law. President Obama trying to save it. A day of drama. Good morning, everybody. I'm Bill Hemmer on a Wednesday. Welcome to America's Newsroom. Nice to see you.
That's the battle this morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum. So the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell will get those wheels in motion. He sets up a vote that would be procedural in effect, but it would strip the health care law with a simple majority vote from the GOP. Mike Pence saying that is just where they're going to start.
We'll focus on repealing and replacing Obamacare. We'll look forward to legislation that will give us the tools to roll back the avalanche of red tape and regulation that have been stifling American jobs and growth. But the President-elect has a very clear message to Capitol Hill, and that is it's time to get to work, and it's time to keep our word to the American people.
Mike Pence on his way to the Hill this morning. Chief Congressional Correspondent Mike Emanuel, they're all ready for us today. So, Mike, what are the expectations for this visit today from the Vice President-elect?
Martha, good morning. Up first, Vice President-elect Mike Pence is expected to rally House Republicans on repealing Obamacare, something many of these Republicans, of course, ran on during the campaign. The Vice President-elect is going to have a variety of meetings here on Capitol Hill today, starting first on the House side. He's also expected to join Republican senators later today for their weekly luncheon. Again, the central focus of these meetings, we are told, is getting rid of the president's health care law. Mike Pence is well known here on Capitol Hill after serving 12 years as a House Republican, still has many relationships. The difference, of course, this time with this visit is he's got a whole lot of newly elected Republican members of Congress who campaigned on getting rid of the health care law. And so, bottom line, he's going to fire them up, get them ready. These folks who are getting ready to get cracking on the Republican agenda. Martha?
Yeah, he is playing his role in a big way as somebody who spent a lot of time there, as you say, Mike. So as for repealing Obamacare, Republicans pulling this in some ways from the Democratic playbook, right?
There is no question about that. When Democrats passed Obamacare back in 2010, they did it just with Democrats' support, so Republicans are looking to scrap it the very same way. There were complaints back in 2010 that when you're reworking something as massive as the nation's health care system, there should have been some efforts to get Republican buy-in, to get Republican input into doing such a massive thing. It did not happen. And so when you're looking at Republicans taking all the levers of power here in Washington, from the White House to the Senate to the House, they're looking to do it the very same way with a budget resolution that will only need a simple majority in the Senate and the House to pass. And so Republicans are looking to get rid of Obamacare in a hurry in the next week or so, and they're going to take that right out of the Democratic playbook from 2010.
Right.
Martha?
What a difference an election makes. Mike, thank you.
So now the showdown begins as promised. President and Vice President-elect each expected to hold closed-door meetings within the hour. We're watching it very closely. Senator John Barrasso, a doctor, longtime critic of Obamacare, joins us live in about 20 minutes to talk about the push to repeal and replace. And that is just the beginning of where that story starts today.
And House Republicans going back on a vote to gut an independent ethics panel after sparking a national backlash yesterday. This one was a quick 360. They quietly voted on Monday night to strip the Office of Congressional Ethics of its independence. But by noon yesterday, Republicans had dropped that measure. The move coming after President-elect Donald Trump called House Republicans out on Twitter writing, with all that Congress has to work on, do they really have to make the weakening of an independent ethics watchdog, as unfair as it is, or maybe, he says, their number one priority? Focus on tax reform, health care, and so many other things of far greater importance. Hashtag DTS, which of course is drain the swamp. I mean, the power of a tweet is something that was really on display yesterday, Bill, from Donald Trump.
You also had a lot of support from Republicans and Democrats to get rid of this aspect of government, and let's say they went too soon. On the Obamacare thing, I think it's very fascinating to see what Democrats are doing. They're going to branch out to different regions of the country and try and put pressure on Republicans not to go along with this. How's that going to work out? Will they have any success at all? That's their angle.
And that charge will be led by President Obama today when he goes to Capitol Hill to try to rally Democrats to hold on to his signature legislation. A battle is clearly underway.
Yeah, a lot of moving there. Also today, President-elect Trump speaking out on alleged Russian hacking, calling out the intel community for pushing back a scheduled meeting to later this week on Friday and stirring quite a skeptical tone. He tweeted this: "The intelligence briefing on so-called Russian hacking was delayed until Friday. Perhaps more time needed to build a case. Very strange!" Exclamation point. Chris Direwald, Fox News digital policy editor. Chris, how are you? Good morning to you. The administration says Friday was always the date, but part of the numerous fascinating elements of the story is this: in 16 days, the 45th president is the boss of the intel community, agencies he has called into question numerous times over the past 18 months.
Right, and the implicit allegations here are really strong. When you are intimating that maybe Julian Assange, the guy who was behind one of the most damaging leaks of U.S. sensitive classified information in recent history anyway, a guy who was basically seen as an enemy of the state, when you are saying maybe this guy's right and maybe the CIA is wrong, maybe the FBI is wrong, when you're doing that, you are opening up a big can of worms here. And his implicit accusation is that they are corrupt because of Barack Obama. And they are corrupt because they wanted Hillary Clinton to win, and they're trying to hurt and delegitimize Trump. So he is doing what Trump always does, which is he attacks anybody who he perceives as a threat to him.
Now let's talk about Obamacare. Big day. I mean, this is the day Republicans have been waiting 6 years for. Now, Democrats would say, hey, you break that thing, you bought it, and you own it. And Republicans would argue, hey, it's broken already. Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader, is set to release the schedule today for this repeal and eventually replace. Where does this stand today when you've got Mike Pence on one side making his argument and President Obama set to fight vigorously to defend his law?
Well, the repeal is the easy part. Those are all goodies. You get a big tax cut because of the way that the law was structured. You can jam it through the Senate on budget reconciliation. That's the way that the Senate Democrats passed it in the first place in 2010. So the front side of this, this is all good. This is the cash back when you buy the new car. However, the larger issue here, and this is what the Republicans will grapple with over the next 3 years, is what do you put in its place? And Democrats will be looking to absolutely torch you every step of the way, because even if there is mild disruption, remember what Republicans did when all the people got thrown off their health insurance when Obamacare went into place? The Democrats are just waiting for their opportunity to do the same thing all over again and really roast the Republicans on this. So today is fun for Republicans. They get to do what they promised to do. They get to start a process that gives them a tax cut, that gives them a chance to tell their base that they've done what they promised. The next 2 years, though, promise to be quite a haul.
Right on cue, Chris. Donald Trump tweets this on Obamacare. Reading now. Republicans must be careful that the Dems own the failed Obamacare disaster with its poor coverage and massive premium increases like the 116% hike in Arizona. Also, deductibles are so high that it is practically useless. Don't let the Schumer clowns out of this web. I will take you back pre-Christmas, a thank you rally in North Carolina, when Trump said we're going to repeal and replace it, but we have to be smart about it. It is clear now, and again from this year, that he understands the pitfalls of moving too quickly without a safety net in place.
Well, there's that part, but what he's talking, so if you have these 20 million people who have coverage, if you have people thrown off coverage and they can't get care as a consequence, you have a political catastrophe. But on the other hand, if you, as Trump is pointing out today, if you let it hang on too long, right, now the Republicans are just culpable because they have gotten under the hood and they have messed around with the wiring, and it's their fault, whatever's going on. So the question, and some conservatives are very concerned, in fact, that what happens is you repeal it, but then you let the guts of it, the Obamacare exchanges, hang on and hang on and hang on, and you punt this down the road, and then you never make the full change. People like Rand Paul and others say we have to replace it now. If we're going to repeal it now, we have to replace it now, or otherwise we're going to end up with Washington being Washington.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Pretty well done there. Thank you, Reverend. Talk to you real soon. Wait for the next tweet, okay? Don't go anywhere.
I know.
Standing by.
Thank you, Chris.
Washington's been Washington for a long time, right? Old habits die hard. All right, so in the meantime here, one of the top Democrats in Washington says it is time for the president-elect to get serious.
Making America great again requires more than 140 characters per issue. With all due respect, America cannot afford a Twitter presidency.
Oh, but he's gotten plenty of bang for his buck out of that Twitter account. Can he govern through Twitter, though? We'll talk to former White House Chief of Staff Andy Card about all of that, see what he thinks.
Also, Martha, gearing up for a 4-year legal showdown, the former Attorney General Eric Holder has just been hired for a new role, hired to take on Donald Trump. We'll explain.
And who is really to blame for the hacked Podesta emails that rocked the presidential election? Julian Assange telling Democrats, time to look in the mirror.
This is something a 14-year-old kid could have hacked Podesta that way.
Breaking news here, some new information about a commuter train derailment that happened a little while ago here in New York City. These are the live pictures from the scene in Brooklyn, New York. A Long Island Railroad train derailing in the last hour. Reports at least 18 people have minor injuries. The accident stalling train traffic in the area and causing a bit of commuter chaos. It seems that the injuries are not life-threatening, which is very good news this morning, but we're keeping a close eye on this as it develops, and we'll get you back there as necessary.
We published several Podesta emails, which shows Podesta responding to a phishing email. Now, how did they respond? Podesta gave out that his password was the word password. His own staff said, this email that you've received, this is totally legitimate. So this is something a 14-year-old kid could have hacked Podesta that way.
Julian Assange with Sean Hannity. WikiLeaks founder there arguing the Clinton team only has itself to blame for the hack. Assange also saying he would not have hesitated to publish information on Donald Trump if he was able to get his hands on it. Pablo Manriquez, former DNC official, Brad Blakeman, former Deputy Assistant to President George W. Bush. And gentlemen, we've got a lot to go through here. Brad, let's start. Password is password. 14-year-old kid could have done it. Blame yourself, no one else. Start.
Look, this is the chicken and the egg. Are we more outraged that it was hacked or the fact that it uncovered corruption within the DNC? Both are unacceptable. But the fact, as Julian Assange has said, that the DNC had absolutely no security is really a shame on them. But we got a benefit by looking into the DNC and finding out that there was corruption there and trying to fix the primaries and some of the other untoward things that they were up to in order to try and skew the election. So the blame is solely on the DNC, because if they had the proper security, like the RNC, they would have never been hacked.
Let me show our viewers what WikiLeaks produced from the email that came back. This apparently was from within the DNC and the staff of Podesta. This is a legitimate email. John needs to change his password immediately, and apparently he did just that. Pablo.
Well, I mean, the password is, of course, it can become kind of like its own meme. But I think that if we take a step back, the most important thing for the DNC and the RNC and any party establishment or campaign to do is to make sure that the proper training and protocols are in place for incoming campaign staffers. So, for example, I actually, when the DNC leaks were going on, we did get a lot of phishing emails. We got emails like that were definitely suspicious. But it wasn't until Google emailed me and said that that my emails had been compromised by a government, like a third-party government, that I started taking it seriously. And I went to our digital team and I said, hey, like, what is this? And their first question was, do you have two-factor authentication set up on your email account? Now, two-factor authentication is when you log in with your password and then they send you a text that has like a code or whatever, so that way they know that you not only have access to your computer, but that you have access to your phone as well. Simple things like that, how to pick a password, how to set up these factors, these could have prevented a lot of the heartache that we have now. But again, like, these things need to be institutionalized. These things need to be set in stone, because I think that a lot of the people
sorry, we're just sidestepping the whole point here. Assange is saying you've got no one to blame but yourself, because you fell for it. Unfortunately, that happens to people. Now listen, Mike Pence is about to arrive on Capitol Hill, and this Obamacare thing is rolling forward full steam. Republicans say they're going to set the schedule, Brad, starting today to repeal and replace. President Obama will be there as well, we believe this hour. He's going to argue the other side. Now how's this going to go, Brad? You start, then Pablo.
Well, you know, the Democrats are hunkering down, and I think that's a mistake. President Obama should get out of the way. There's a new sheriff going to be in town. They're already laying the groundwork for that. There's nothing to save with Obama in the room. What they should be doing is talking to Republicans. They shouldn't be talking to Obama, because the art of the deal is the Democrats coming together with the Republicans and trying to establish a new order to health care. And if they're smart, they should be meeting with Republicans, because guess what? They're going to get something out of the deal. Donald Trump is transactional. He will make a deal that's in the best interest of the country. And by the way, Democrats are going to get some of the bargain if they'll come to the table.
Interesting. Brad, though, when Trump says, as he mentioned a few moments ago and said about a month ago as well in public, that you have to be careful about how you go about this, there must be an enormous amount of sensitivity on behalf of Republicans to be just that, careful to do it right.
Absolutely, because we have to learn from the mistakes of 2009 when we had a president come in and jam us because he controlled all branches of government. We've got to be smarter than that, and at least offer the Democrats the opportunity to come to the table. If our bill passes without Democratic support, we'll be in just as bad of shape as when Obama passed it without Republicans.
Well, you make a number of interesting points. Pablo, on the point about Democrats coming to the table, would that be smart? Is that advisable? Would you like to see Chuck Schumer and others do just that?
I would like to see Chuck Schumer and others do just that, because ultimately the purpose, the goal, the end game here is to make sure that people have insurance. And one thing that President Obama has been able to do and can claim very legitimately on his accomplishments narrative is that millions of people are now insured that weren't insured when he came into office. Now, the question is, especially with an aging population of seniors who require more care, are these changes that Republicans say are coming going to take away their health care, which I think is just going to be politically unpalatable? So it sounds to me, it sounds to me like what they're doing is that they're just going to try and take Obamacare, slap a Trump care sticker on it, and move forward. I think that the most important thing will be for Democrats to make sure that people are insured, though.
Pablo, no Republicans voted for Obamacare. Will any Democrats join Republicans now?
I could see the Democrats joining Republicans, yes. I think that Republicans have a tendency to move forward with more unity on sort of issues of obstruction, like they did during President Obama, than Democrats do. Democrats have a much wider tent, a lot more perspectives to fit under their umbrella. But at the end of the day, everybody needs to be keeping the American people's best interest at heart, and the people who need insurance, who have insurance now, who didn't have it when Obama came into office. And if we keep their interests, if we keep their health top of mind, we're going to keep our economy top of mind, too.
Today is the day. Pablo Manriquez, thank you. DNC official there, and Brad Blakeman out of Washington, D.C.
Thanks.
Gentlemen, forward. Thanks. Martha.
So we've been watching a number of people make their way down the hallway, but we're waiting for the Vice President-elect, Mike Pence, and also President Obama, who are arriving on Capitol Hill to start essentially duking it out and hunkering down over Obamacare and the battle which is about to begin when we come back.
On the Hill today, Mike Pence arriving moments ago, and he will meet first with House Republicans before he moves to the Senate side. Today is the day that Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader, says they will set a schedule for repealing and replacing Obamacare. At the same time, we do expect to see President Obama at this hour. He will go to the Hill and meet with Democrats as well. So watch this movement throughout the morning here on America's Newsroom.
When you look at, there's nothing wrong, I think, with a president who is looking to make sure that there is a strong and vibrant U.S. economy. I think we all share that vision and that hope and that reality going forward.
That is Ford CEO Mark Fields talking about President-elect Donald Trump and his economic plans and the tweets that seem to be rolling them into motion. Ford yesterday scrapping plans for a Mexico plant, $1.6 billion small car factory that they were building there after Mr. Trump slammed General Motors in the morning with a tweet for importing compact cars from Mexico to the United States. And just a short time ago, Mr. Trump responded to Ford with this tweet, quote, "Thank you to Ford for scrapping a new plant in Mexico and creating 700 new jobs in the United States. This is just the beginning. Much more to follow." Charles Payne, host of Making Money with Charles Payne on the Fox Business Network. Charles, yesterday amazed me. With a couple of tweets, we saw some major motion. What do you think?
You're absolutely right. Now, what I thought was interesting in the Ford situation is that throughout the entire campaign, Mark Fields was adamant, we're going to build this plant in Mexico. I mean, over and over again, every time it was brought up, every time a reporter said, listen, Donald Trump again on the campaign stump said X. Yeah. He says, I don't care. We're going to build this almost $2 billion plant in Mexico. And then all of a sudden, remember, we started yesterday off with Donald Trump tweets against General Motors. And, you don't know where the Ford board was, but it feels like that might have been a tipping point.
Yeah, let's put that one up on the screen, because that was the tweet that came first. And it's just remarkable. He said General Motors is sending Mexican-made model of Chevy Cruze to U.S. car dealers tax-free across the border. Make it in the USA or pay a bigger border tax. The chilling effect of these tweets, and you're suggesting that the board may have been pressuring this CEO all along, and this may have tipped the balance?
Well, obviously, it's something that you have to think of, because when you think of a company like Ford or General Motors, and you have the American public buying your product, you don't want the President of the United States saying or pointing out, putting a harsh spotlight on you, saying, listen, these guys are doing some un-American things. Why will you buy from them? It's hard to calculate how much that intangible is, but goodwill means a lot on your balance sheet. It means a lot with your potential customers. Now, having said that, Donald Trump's tweet also revealed on General Motors the many advantages that Mexico has over America. I mean, they have a ton of them. The cheap labor, the peso 20 to 1, 20 pesos for $1. They've got a bunch of free trade agreements that make it easier and cheaper to ship cars from there. Also, the value-added tax over there. They essentially allow their car makers or even American companies that build things over there to deduct or get a rebate on taxes. So that's his point about shipping it duty-free or tax-free. So it's a mountain of obstacles to level the playing field. In the meantime, though, Donald Trump is coming out swinging, which is huge.
Here's President Obama as he arrives on Capitol Hill. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer with him this morning. He is there to fight for Obamacare, to try to hold on to this. Obviously, Charles, another huge issue for American corporations, many of whom and many small businesses have just simply stopped hiring because they can't bear the burden of Obamacare.
Well, and for the month of November, the National Federation of Independent Businesses, the largest small business organization out there, put out their confidence reading. It was pretty interesting because on the surface it was a little bit higher, but when you examine it from November 8th to after November 8th, it went through the roof. Small businesses are praying, please undo some of these things. The onerous impact of Obamacare, particularly changing a full week of work from 40 hours to 30 hours.
Right.
Some of the overtime rules that are associated with some of the other things. The idea is that small businesses were hurt so bad under President Obama that entrepreneurship dropped to an all-time low over the last 2 years. So if you want to talk about where all the real jobs have come from in this country in the last 25 years, they've come from small businesses and entrepreneurs. Why would we shackle them? It's nuts.
You know, when you think about the impact of just a few words and sentiment, how strong sentiment is to business psychology, it's truly remarkable what we're seeing happen. You know, how it all bears out, maybe another story, and we'll be watching it, and I know you will too, Charles, but we thank you very much for being with us today. We know you got your eye on it over at the Business Channel.
All the time.
We'll keep on it with you. Thanks a lot, Charles. Bill?
Thank you, Martha. Today we get to look under the hood of Obamacare and see what Republicans have. Back to this breaking news now in a train derailment in Brooklyn, New York. We have new information now about this commuter train that apparently we believe was coming into the station. A Long Island Railroad train derailing just last hour. Reports suggesting 37 people have been treated for injuries. Most of them, if not all, said to be minor injuries. We do not believe this is a life-threatening situation, but the accident stalling train traffic, causing a lot of commuter chaos. Remember, it was just about a month ago in Hoboken, New Jersey, where you had that train coming into the station in the early morning hours, which it proved fatal at that point. This, however, is it's a little different, and as we look at the live images for those on board, it looks to be as good a scenario as you could expect with a train coming to the station early in the morning. So back to that in Brooklyn, New York, when we get new information here.
So Republicans delivering on their promise to go after Obamacare on day one as they get back to work after the long holiday period. There's Mike Pence on the right as he arrived on Capitol Hill earlier today, or just about a half an hour ago or so. President Obama also arrived on the Hill fighting to salvage his signature legislation, to talk to Democrats, to convince them to hold firm. President-elect Donald Trump weighing in on the matter as well on Twitter, saying this: Republicans must be careful in that the Dems own the failed Obamacare disaster with its poor coverage and massive premium increases, like the 116% hike in Arizona. Also, deductibles are so high that it's practically useless. Don't let the Schumer clowns out of this web, he says. Massive increases of Obamacare will take place this year, and Dems are to blame for the mess. It will fall on its own weight. Be careful. He used a lot more than 144 characters there. He's figured out how to tweet in consecutive order and get that message across. John Barrasso, the senator from Wyoming, is chairman of the Republican Policy Committee and member of the Foreign Relations Committee as well, and a doctor, of course. Good to have you with us this morning, Senator. Welcome.
Thanks, Martha. Thanks for having me.
So you're in a busy place this morning. How's this battle going to go?
Well, I'll tell you, we're battling for patients. That's who I'm focused on, my fight, for the patients, the families around the country who have been hurt by the Obama health care law, by 6 years of Obamacare malpractice that have resulted in raising costs, raising complications, people having possibly insurance under Obamacare, but the premiums are so high and the deductibles are so high, they can't use it. The president keeps focusing on the word coverage. As a doctor, I'm focused on the word health care, and that's why we have actually introduced yesterday the resolution to repeal Obamacare.
All right, so the resolution, if it passes, and you expect it will allow you to repeal Obamacare with just 50, anything over 50 votes, right?
Well, it will put it on Donald Trump's desk. We've done this last time, but President Obama vetoed it. We want to get the power back and the decisions back to the people, to the families, to the doctors. Let states decide, get the decisions out of Washington, and immediately repeal the most harmful parts of the health care law, which is this mandate that everybody has to buy government-approved insurance, as opposed to the insurance that's best for them and their family and what's best for the folks in local communities. That's the problem. When Washington comes out with a one-size-fits-all, which is what Obamacare is, it hurts people back home. That's what I hear in Wyoming every weekend.
I mean, for Republicans, politically, you know, 2018 is now just around the corner, and we've seen many times over the course of history where there's a sweep into office for one party and they lose that majority very quickly. So basically, if you guys mess this up, if you leave people feeling like they lost something they had under Obamacare, you may be in trouble.
There are Americans all around the country, certainly home in Wyoming, who feel they've lost a lot because of Obamacare. They've lost control of their own decisions. They've lost the ability to choose the insurance that works for them, that was affordable beforehand and now is unaffordable because of all the mandates. But let's face it, Martha, recent Gallup poll, 8 out of 10 Americans will tell you that they feel this health care law needs to either be fundamentally changed or repealed and replaced, because for them it's not a good deal, it's not working for them, and President Obama is here on Capitol Hill desperately trying to save his health care law rather than fighting for patients who need health care. And he always focused on the word coverage and ignored the word care.
I guess, Senator, one of the big questions is how you provide a transition that people can, go through and understand it as they get from point A to point B. Because, frankly, the messaging that has come from Republicans on this has not really been that coherent. Because I think if you ask most people out there, what are you going to get? How repeal and replace with what? I don't think they could give you a very clear message on that. Donald Trump is putting forth clear messages on Twitter every single day. Is he way ahead of you guys on messaging?
Well, he is certainly right on health care. I was with him at an earlier health care speech that he gave. He is right. The health care law has raised costs, raised co-pays, raised deductibles, made it a lot harder for people to actually get care. And the majority of people covered are under the Medicaid expansion, are under Medicaid, which is a program of the government's that doesn't work right now. So Mike Pence, as vice president, is the right person to deal with that, because as governor of Indiana, he did Medicaid expansion in a way that allowed the state to have much more control. We tried to do that in Wyoming, but were rejected from the federal government. We want states to make those decisions. They can get much better value and bang for the buck and better care for people than when Washington takes control.
Well, the teams are there. We just saw Mike Pence and many from the top echelons of the Trump team walking into the Hill. So we'll see how this goes. Senator Brasso, always good to talk to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Martha.
We also know more Gitmo detainees will leave the island prison within days. That's a move President-elect Trump calls dangerous. How will a President Trump use Gitmo in the war on terror?
And Mr. Trump continuing his communication through social media, but can he use Twitter to govern as president? Former White House Chief of Staff for President George W. Bush, Andy Card, joins us with his thoughts on the new presidency next.
These issues are too important for mere words. Our challenges too entrenched for mere tweeting.
Former Attorney General Eric Holder may soon make his presence felt once again in Washington, D.C. The state of California hiring Holder as they gear up for years of potential battles with the Trump administration over the environment, immigration, and criminal justice reform. One state lawmaker says having Holder will help, quote, safeguard the values of the people of California. The president-elect has already promised to crack down on sanctuary cities, several of which are in California.
Requires more than 140 characters per issue. With all due respect, America cannot afford a Twitter presidency. We have real challenges and we have real needs to get things done. And many Americans are afraid, Mr. President-elect, that instead of rolling up your sleeves and forging serious policies, for you, Twitter suffices.
And we were told they were on good terms. We know what Senator Schumer thinks about Twitter now, but President-elect Donald Trump has made the most of his Twitter account, and he's gotten results too. Is this a clue as to how he will communicate as president? And if so, what does it mean for so many? Andy Card, former White House Chief of Staff for President George W. Bush, with us in studio. And great to see you.
Great to see you, Bill.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
My sense is his Twitter feed's going nowhere. Despite the many protestations that you hear from so many within the media. What do you think?
He tweets to the people of America, many of whom supported him, many more who are rallying for him. And I think he's going to continue to reach out to the people that helped him get to the White House. And he's going to try to make things change. What he cannot do is abuse the time and responsibility that he needs to spend in the Oval Office doing his job. So I don't want the tweeting to become more important than the decisions that have to be made in the Oval Office.
So there's a balance there, you're saying.
And he also, there are a lot of things that you cannot tweet about that you will learn as president. And so...
Just give me an example. That's very intriguing.
he talks about getting intelligence briefings. The value of getting an intelligence briefing is that you can challenge the briefing. So it's important to get the briefing and then challenge it. Don't tweet about it. Challenge it privately. Cause the intelligence community to do more work to make you feel more comfortable about the information. You don't have to tweet every time the government burps.
Well stated. I did not think I was going to hear that one. This is, however, as you would argue, a direct line to his supporters.
And it's important.
And what are the challenges to his staff as they're going throughout their day and trying to stay on message with him? Because even yesterday when he came out and he criticized his Republicans in Congress, and Kellyanne Conway was on morning TV and she was defending the ethics move, and then he came out around 12 noon and went in a 180-degree direction. What's your feeling on that?
I find that to be a challenge for the staff. It'll be a particular challenge for Reince Priebus. The role of the chief of staff is not to be blindsided and not to have the president blindsided. Now, the president is blindsiding people who work for him right now. And that's going to be a challenge. You want him to understand how he doesn't like to be blindsided, and the people who work for him should not be. If it's a policy decision, he should not tweet it unless the policy decision has been fully vetted by the policy experts that he's leaned on to advise him. Once a policy decision is made, talk about it.
Well, it is clear from yesterday that lawmakers are going to have to figure out how to react to this. And we saw the pivot immediately yesterday.
Well,
that's a whole new world, Andy.
Although I honestly believe he was causing a pivot that the Speaker wanted. So I think Paul Ryan recognized that it was a flawed move by the Republican caucus to do what they did.
Well, so then if there's a vote on infrastructure, if there's a vote on, I mean, you name it, pick your poison. Well, he can bring pressure to bear.
And that's important. He should do that. Every president has tried to do that, not with tweets, but they've tried to do it with radio talk shows. They've tried to do it with giving speeches around the country. What I don't want the president to do is think he's a member of Congress. He's not. They're separate but equal. He can try to guide them. He should motivate them. He should lead them. He should govern them, but he can't be them. So allow Congress to be Congress.
These are all fascinating ideas here. Broad question. What is your expectation starting on the 20th of January for President number 45?
President number 45, and the presidents generally call themselves by the numbers, so I worked with 41 and 43. I obviously worked with number 40 as well. But the first day, he's going to realize that the job is bigger than he thought it was even the day before.
You believe that?
Because the decisions are so tough. He has the ability to make relatively easy decisions right now. When he gets in the Oval Office, he should never make an easy decision because he doesn't have time to make an easy decision. Use your time to make the tough decisions. And that's the Chief of Staff's job, is to make sure he's never wasting his time by making an easy decision. They're tough decisions. The other thing is he's got to demonstrate that the ability to lead bureaucracies that need to be inspired. Most of the people in the bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. probably didn't vote for him. So he has to motivate them to feel inspired to implement his policies.
You got it. Terrific talking to you. Andy Carr, thanks for coming back, okay? Former Chief of Staff who knows the job better than anyone. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Martha.
Well, American cities like Chicago have seen a huge jump in crime in 2016, but it's a different story in New York, where brand new statistics are showing that the city here is safer. So what is the secret of the NYPD's success?